Good evening, everyone. This video is going to be a support session and trading review for April the 6th, 2022. So we're in a Wednesday night in our session. So I'm going to first kind of go over the new Flex Paint tool, as it's called, um, and basically it's just giving us some visual. So we've already got the painting for the zones, right? So you've already got that in your thing, just to be able to highlight kind of where for instance, where the fast zone is, and that's going to be highlighted kind of in different colors as well. Those are at your option. So in addition to that, I've decided, and I think everybody likes it, to paint the distance between the flexes, right? And I'm painting the distance between the flexes. So you can see it starts here and then restarts over here. There's not too much I could do about that. It's just because it's just painting between the flexes. So everything is still lined up when it's crossing over. It just isn't quite as visible. When I roll over, I'll go find another one in just a minute before we go through trading. So when the flexes are lined up, meaning in this case, for instance, both flexes are heading down, right? And either one of two things: either the gap is getting larger, right, between ultraflex and fast flex, or the close is underneath ultraflex, right? But the flexes directionally need to be lined up. So as you can see, right, when this one ultraflex is already negative, fast flex goes negative here, right, and close is below. Then this is where it starts to paint, and this one paints kind of this kind of light orange color, and that is going to be, it's under your control, so you can set it to any color you want in the style section, right? So you don't have to choose in the input section. You can make it literally any color of the rainbow that you want, and then go from there. And then let me just show you what a bigger looking trend would look like, right? So those are kind of narrow here, but if we get into here, this is kind of interesting, right? So this is approaching 7 o'clock, kind of a time frame where we can see some bigger trends develop. And as you can see, it's kind of rolling over from the fast zone, all right? So it pulls up to the fast zone, got a couple of expansions here, and then it starts to roll over. And generally, it's kind of I don't know how good of an it's going to be. It is going to give some visibility to potentially an entrance, but it's going to be, I think, even better to maybe say maybe we should be getting out. So like for instance here, the fast bar stops painting. Well, one, because it is back above ultraflex, but it's already gone sideways here several bars, right? And so ultraflex is starting, fast flex is still coming down, ultraflex is starting to slow down, right? And as you can see, right, if you got out in here, could you have gotten a little bit more? Maybe, right? So we'll have to make that decision. But rarely does it go off and take another huge run down, right? Without maybe giving another trading opportunity. Here as it's coming back up, right? You can see now sometimes it's not going to paint, right? Because it slows down a little bit and then continues, slows down, continues, but it's still over ultraflex, and it just needs to move up a little bit more to continue that move. And once again, we're getting, it even stays solid green in this case all the way through the fast zone, right? And stops kind of painting when it gets above here and approaching there. This is, so it's kind of agreeing even when the indicators are telling us, hey, this might be an exit area, right? Because we're at the top of the fast zone, we're coming into the volume point of control, as well, right? So I think it's kind of a useful tool. It's only in combination with everything else that we're doing, and I'll go over some of these trades in just a minute. So but we still, we don't necessarily want to go short as soon as it goes orange, for instance, right? In this case, right, because it's still going into the fast zone. Kind of wait till the flexes line up, are closer together and lining up. See, this is where I started adding to this trade I was in, right? So it's coming down, and even at that, it's still kind of going into the fast zone, but it continued. It had kind of stabilized, I guess, based out, or in this case, just kind of topped out up in this area, right? And it's starting to roll over, right, and taking down. I right now, I'm working on something to make it a little bit more visible from an exit standpoint. From an entry standpoint. I don't think it's because usually when it's when the flexus is extremely narrow or kind of narrow, it's a little bit hard. I'm not necessarily picking it up, so I'm going to pick that up. That's what I was actually looking at right before. I was seeing. So I do think it's a good exit, and I'm going to make it a little bit more visible to maybe help it as an entrance. It's not automatic. We still want to see the volume and the expansions, right, for the entries. That's my opinion. But and then maybe use the zones as an exit. But it would be a little bit more useful, I think, as well, if we could see the very early stages. Like for instance, this one right here, right? This is the flexes are lined up directionally here after this bar, right? But it's hard to see in the middle of all this stuff, right? So I'm working on that, and so maybe we'll get a little bit of entrance help as well, or reverse help, right? Especially if we're kind of in a trade. So, which I could have used this morning. All right, so that's kind of this new flex paint. So think about that. I'll go through the trades and we'll come back and answer any questions that you might have. So I'll distribute that this weekend. Okay, so here we are back at the open, scrolling through. Had a pretty good day, even though I got into that fight a little bit. Okay, so overall, the market was down today, right? Even coming in this morning. So let's go back and review just kind of like where we are at in the. Let's go back to maybe the 6-point chart so we can kind of see. So the market had continued to come down. This is today, and we're kind of like here, right, at the open. So markets were down under S1, so markets are certainly down even below yesterday's close. All right, so that's the sentiment that we're going into. So didn't want to go necessarily long, waited for a little bit, and so went short here, right? Easy trade out. Short here, pretty easy trade out. And then I got a little bit greedy, right? So it went into the all session low here, right? And then that one did not necessarily work, right? So I was actually a bit late too, right? If I was going to take this trade, I should have taken it as it was breaking down underneath the 2-minute close, and I waited too long. So I ended up having to it kind of juked me out. I reversed here, right? It could have gone back up. I didn't need that much more to get out. I actually even added to it. I just needed about there, right? I needed it to break the volume point of control, right? So it came back down. All right, so it's coming back up again. So I added again. I could get out even earlier now, but it held. And so now I'm holding, I think I'm holding 3 at this point. Comes back up towards it again, right? And it just wouldn't break the volume point of control. So I said, okay, well, enough of this, right? So I'm just going to play the market to the negative side. I went ahead and reversed here, and just held at for the low, right? We didn't need to, didn't add to it anymore, so just exited here around the lows for profit. I think I only had two. Why? I'm not sure why I. Okay, so there's a reverse. That would put me long one, and for some reason I only had two. I remember this trade. I only had two, so one of those entrances is incorrect, I guess. So so that was that trade. Made money on it, and I was going forward. Let me see. Get this pointer going again. All right, so a little bit later, going on, and this is kind of made the same mistake again, actually. So 648 entered down here, right? Too low, entered in too low. It's really not doing that much, right? But at least this time, it wouldn't break down. But at least this time it popped back up. I've already got the sentiment that hey, it really is trying to go lower, and so I added to it here, and then I got out down here below or around the low again. So going into 7 o'clock, it was up. Right before 7 o'clock, right? I took this trade, and it was a quick, it's during this early part of this rollover, right? Took that trade. I think I only took this one for like 3 ticks, right? Because I remember this trade now. I wanted to get out prior to the volume point of control, so I think I only took this trade for about 3 ticks because I wanted to get out before that. Now it kind of came down anyway. So this next trade might be the one. No, because I entered in here and got out. Here it is coming up. Okay, so selling, and I normally don't really sell into, I normally don't like selling into the all session low, but I did it again, and it juked me out here, even though, right? Well, a couple of things. One, it did pop over S2, and but it was kind of into these pivot kind of areas, so I got jumpy and reversed. So now I'm one long, and I think I actually added one to it. So now I'm 2 long, kind of came back down, and so it looks like it's going to come back down, and so I reverse again, and then added to it a little bit later. But this is the area I wanted to talk about a little bit. So I went short here, right now, and it popped up. Now, if it's going to, rarely does it do a straight V, right? Very rarely, especially on a day when it has kind of got a negative sentiment to it. So it's usually going to try to do a Fibonacci pullback ish, right, before it continues to go up, which is exactly what it did. So this is an area where if I could just held out and waited for this and reversed, stayed short, right? Maybe even added to it. I don't know. It doesn't look that good to add to, but stayed short to here, and then get this, right? A big expansion, right? Obviously they're coming after it, right? From a volume standpoint, it jumps above both fast flex and ultra flex, and I these kind of big bars like this, when it spans both of them, I may try to make those visible in the future. It's a pretty good trade, right? It's a pretty good trade. So this is an area where I really kind of woulda shoulda reversed to long, right? But it juked me out again, so I reversed short. So now I'm double reversed. I said, well, shoot, the day has got a negative sentiment to it, so I'm just gonna try to hang on, right? And I did. Let it come all the way up here to that volume point of control area, right? And added to it there, and then I needed to wait until it kind of started rolling over. Well, I did take one more here, so I kind of warned everybody, hey, this is going to be, in all likelihood, this is going to be a large unit trade, and it was. I had 11 by the time it was all over. So I added to it again here, right? It's under the flexes here. It's trying, right? Hasn't broken down just yet. And added to it here again. They're trying to have it roll over, and then it really starts to roll over here. So I added to it again here, added to it again here, and then it rolls back under, right? And I've got it stretched out here, right? I start getting out. Think about here with single units. I think I was 1 1, 2 4 1 1, something like that, in getting out in that area, and so I ended up making money on the trade. But again, that's, I was out all through there, but it's not really how I want to trade. So I've got to get me, and we have to get a little bit better about these type of areas. So and one of the things that I was worried about, the reason I reversed in the first place, is doing a bit of research. This is kind of a time frame, right, when it can kind of run for longer, and it did, right? It just did it over here a little bit after 713 instead of at 710, right? So this is a much better looking scenario to be able to reverse from. Okay, so that was that trade, and that was the kind of the worst trade I did, but I was stubborn and made money. So let's see, kind of going through, trying to pick out, find my arrows that I've done this on. I was certainly trying not to go long. Surely that's not, I must be missing some trades. So no, I went, this was a rejection of the fast zone over here, so I went short. And that's my last trade of the morning, but let me see if I missed some arrows. Oh, here's it. Oh, that's the big trade, right? Well, maybe it did. Maybe that was it. So anyway, ended up, what did I say, 18 and something for the morning gross. 18.5 points gross for the morning. I traded a little bit more in the afternoon. It was an FOMC minutes meeting, so I traded a little bit before then and some afterwards. So I ended up with a pretty nice day. But that one trade. My bracket is for right now is I went back to a 5-point stop. So my bracket is a 6-tick profit. So it's a 6-tick profit, and then I adjust it as needed. And I just need some space. I mean, I finally just realized a 3-point or 12-tick stop is just too tight for me. I mean, most of the time if I pick a good trade, I mean, it doesn't even get anywhere close to that. But I need a little bit of room to not be focused on the stop, right? So I get it out of the way a little bit. I do want to have a stop in the market, but I get it out of the way a little bit, and it's at a 5 point, so it's a 25. Let me show you. I'll bring it up. So it's a 6-tick profit and a 5-point. No, that's more like a 6-point. Sorry, a 6-point stop, 6.25 point stop. But anyway, 25 is what it used to be. So I just get it out of the way. I'm not necessarily planning on it just straight going to 6 points, but I just need to get that stop out of my vision. It allows me to be, in my words, it allows me to be a trader, right, and watch the trade a little bit and watch it develop without having it hit a 3-point stop. I want to take some other actions right? Instead of just letting a stop hit, right? So it could be, kind of a meandering kind of a day, and maybe want to do some things. So I tried that 3-point stop for a day or two, and I just don't want to recover from those 3-point stops. I'd rather be focused on making good entries and managing a trade than worrying about stop. Actually, you made that point, didn't you? I think you absolutely made that point. Yeah, so I remember now. So I obviously agree with you. So yeah, so I just need a little bit of room, keep me focused on what the market is doing, instead of worrying about hitting that stop. All right, so that's good. All right, so that's what I'm working on. I also, let's see, you may have mentioned it, missed it since you were recording the session this morning. I'm working on some data collection, right? And that's what I was referring to earlier. I want to, I have intuitive feels for when the market likes to make moves on a time scale basis, and so I am working on. I've got the program well underway, and so I'm going to do some analysis on when it makes bigger moves. In theory, about maybe doing 2-unit entries, and or doing an entry maybe after we've got some points, right, where we can play with it a little bit. It doesn't look like early in the morning, early in the trading session is a good idea to try to let it trail. And I think we tried that one time, right? And with stops that were too tight, and it kind of bounced around. So I'm trying to add more information and more statistics to it so we can maybe try it again. So either right around, going into 7 or at 7, or a little bit after is a better idea. There's some times I think in the afternoon, but anyway, I'm going to get some statistics, and I'll share them, and we'll analyze it kind of together, and go from there. So it'll arm you with some more information as well. All right. So anyway, that's kind of it. Any other thoughts? Well, the 2-tick chart is I want it because it's going to tell us the volume point of control, right? So that's the only way we can get the volume point of control. So when it's causing your other charts to go crazy, are you using the 2-tick TML to set the 2-tick chart up? And when you put it on, okay, so there's let me drag my 2-tick chart over. All right, so here's my 2-tick chart, right? And it's important. Well, it's not only important that you just must have it. So on the 2-tick chart, send data must be equal to true, and get data must be equal to false. Okay, so there's no options there, and that's how the TML sets it up. And then on the 5-second chart, on the format indicators, on the volume point of control, right? Then send has to be false and get has to be true. And if that's not set up correctly, then yeah, it's going to drive your charts and your computer crazy. But I don't know. Other than that, I don't think it should be going crazy. So double check that. Double check your market open times, making sure they agree. And then if it still kind of goes crazy, then send me a picture so I can see what it is. I don't remember what kind of computer you have. The 2-tick chart is a little CPU intensive. So I don't know if that is the issue or not. But check those things out, and let me know. So the information you're missing if you don't have the two-tick chart is the volume pointing control. Oh, you should be okay then. I mean, because that's what my old system was, right? I had that's the CPU that I had, and it was doing okay with everything else. It was keeping up. So it may be a chart setting scenario. Check that out. And send me a picture of it so maybe I can spot what the problem might be. Anything else? Okay. And if it's still crazy, I definitely want to see a picture. Okay. Any other questions or issues? Okay, very good. All right, have a good evening. Hopefully see you in the morning or soon. All right, let me know how that two-tick thing works out. All right, have a good night. We'll see you later.